The year is 1974, and Pauline McGibbon has made history. But let's go back to the beginning. Born in Sarnia in 1910, Mrs. Pauline McGibbon was once described as Ontario's Eve for all her first woman's achievements. Pauline McGibbon has her roots in Sarnia. Born as Pauline Emily Mills, her family lived in central Sarnia on the corner of Brock and George Streets, a house that is still standing today and most recently showcased in the 2016 IODE Christmas Home Tour. Pauline's father, Fred, owned a clothing store in Sarnia. Her mother, Ethel, was an assistant organist in a local church. Pauline Mills attended Lockheil Street School, and like most Sarnia students, she attended the newly built high school, Sarnia Collegiate and Technical School, more commonly known as SCITS. It was at school that Pauline met her childhood sweetheart, Donald McGibbon. After graduation from SCITS, they both attended Victoria College in Toronto and graduated in the early 1930s. Pauline had earned her Bachelor of Arts with a major in history. Donald started work with Imperial Oil in Sarnia. Later, he was transferred to Toronto in 1940, 5 years after they were married. Shortly after her marriage in 1935, Pauline joined the Imperial Order Daughters of the Empire and was a founding member of the Honorable Alexander Vidal chapter. Mrs. McGibbon was given a life membership, the highest honor of IODE, by Vidal chapter years later. In 1940, Pauline became regent of the newly formed Sarnia Municipal IODE chapter. Her leadership continued to grow after her move to Toronto, where she became a member in York chapter, also the provincial chapter of Ontario, and regent in the Toronto Municipal chapter in 1950. She served as the IODE national president from 1963 to 65. IODE was privileged to have Pauline as a member for over 65 years. While in Toronto, Pauline also dedicated her life to drama. In 1957, she was awarded the Canadian Drama Award for her support to the Canadian theatre. She was president of the Dominion Drama Festival in 1948. The Pauline McGibbon Award, started in 1979, is given by the Ontario government even today to a promising student of theatre. The story behind Pauline McGibbon's name as Ontario's Eve was just starting. She was the first woman president of the University of Toronto Alumni Association. She became the first female in this role at her alma mater. Pauline McGibbon was also first woman to lead organizations as the Canadian Conference of the Arts in 1972 and the National Arts Centre in 1980. In 1971, the University of Toronto recognized her with an appointment as Chancellor. On January 17, 1974, Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau appointed Pauline McGibbon as the 22nd Lieutenant Governor of Ontario. She would become the first woman in the British Commonwealth to hold this viceregal position. She held this office until 1980. While in office, she created the Pauline McGibbon Cultural Centre in Toronto. The Honourable Pauline McGibbon became known as Ontario's Eve as she was appointed as a female to many positions that were traditionally held by men. She was the first woman to serve as the director of 4 major Canadian corporations: George Weston Limited in 1981, IBM Canada, Emasco, and Mercedes-Benz Canada in 1983. She was the first life member of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce in 1980. She was honored as a Companion of the Order of Canada in 1980 also, and a member of the Order of Ontario in 1988. The Honorable Pauline Emily McGibbon died December 14, 2001, at the age of 91. She was buried in the family plot at Lakeview Cemetery, Sarnia. Her honor's life was one of service and leadership, delivered with warmth and humor. One of our newest public elementary schools, built in 2010, is the P.E. McGibbon School, named in her honor. On October 5, 2006, the Ontario Heritage Trust and the Sarnia Kiwanis Foundation unveiled a provincial plaque and dedicated a community heritage garden in Sarnia commemorating the late Honorable Pauline McGibbon. In 1985, she became the honorary chair of the Sarnia Kiwanis Foundation as it embarked on the challenge of converting her old elementary school into the Lakio Kiwanis Community Center.